Welcome to Office Hours with Arrow, a LinkedIn Live event hosted by Arrow leaders who care about what senior living looks like. I'm your host and producer, Rachel Sheehan, and today we are celebrating Nurses Week. So first, I just want to say, Crystal, Derek, and any nurse watching, happy Nurses Week. I'm so glad to have you with us today. I want to start off just with you introducing who you are, what you do for Arrow, and why you became a nurse. So I'm going to start with Crystal, who is our favorite nurse today.
Yeah,
Sorry, Derek, but she took the title.
I did. I beat him to it. It's okay. So I'm Crystal Parrish. I'm the Senior Managing Director of Wellness for Arrow Senior Living. That's his eye.
Hey everyone, it's your second favorite Arrow nurse. I'm Derek Harris. I'm Managing Director of Wellness Integration, and happy Nurses Week.
And real quick, I see you guys match a little bit. What is it you're wearing?
Our Arrow swag. I mean, like, we're super amazing. I think this is like a new thing for us, but we have like our own logo for nursing. So we get nice, cool gifts and little swag pretty frequently. But yeah, it's our logo for being Arrow nurses.
I love it. Very cool.
It's exclusive.
Yes, I know. I can't get it, it makes sense because I could not be a nurse. What you guys do is just amazing. So I want to know, Crystal, from you first, like, why did you decide to become a nurse?
Yeah. So honestly, I think it's the same thing that a lot of people say initially, where, I love people, right? I have a passion for people. So that is true. But I figure with my career in nursing, I can do both, combine the two things that I really enjoy. So yes, I have a passion for people, but I also have a passion for empowering nurses and empowering people in general, which is the mentoringship part of it. And I figured with this role and with this kind of career choice as being a nurse, I can help the residents by keeping them safe, right? But then I can also empower the nurses and help them reach like their full potential and both, and really truly be an advocate for both of them. So for me, it's the best of both worlds. I literally kind of walk in my dream, walk in my passion. I always say, living my dream is usually what I kind of say, but honestly it is. But that's really why I got into it, because I can do both. It was like that dual love of the resident and also being an advocate for the nurses and empowering them.
That's awesome. I love that. Derek, how about you?
Funny topic. So I actually, when I graduated high school and went to college, I didn't go to be a nurse. I was a CMIS major at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. CMIS, that's Computer Management and Information Systems. I wanted to go more into that side, and usually a CMIS major is more think of like an IT manager or something like that. And nursing was more of a backup for me. And I did okay my first 2 years with that as my major, but I realized, I could do really cool things. Like I could code how to build a calculator, but I didn't get to see the end result. When you're doing that job, you are usually more on the back end. You're not going to be customer, or in our case, resident facing. And I realized I needed to find something that I knew I was making some sort of an impact, or I had some level of interaction. So it was a big change, like 2.5 years into a 4-year degree, to wake up one morning and say, I think I want to be a nurse today. So that's how I got here.
That's awesome. I love both those stories because they're little different paths, but very cool. So with that too, Derek, you've been with Arrow a long time. So I was wondering if you had any like memorable resident that you remember caring for, any kind of moment that sticks out to you that you still carry with you.
Had I gone down that path of becoming a CMIS major, I never would have had this one to say. So I started with the company as a night nurse in 2011, and there was this resident that I would see every morning, because on night shift we'd pass the early morning medications. And I think any nurse in the audience or that's listening in would know that nurses do so much more than just nursing. I mean, we're social workers. Sometimes we might feel like security guards. Sometimes we might feel like medication technicians, and we're caregivers, we're managers. We are literally everything. I think you just take everything from every college and university, throw it in a blender and add a little bit of healthcare, and then that's how you get a nurse. And kind of to that point, there was one particular resident that, like I said, I would see her every morning. She was always had to be a 10 out of 10 before she would step out of her apartment to go to the restaurant for breakfast. And due to physical limitations, she wasn't able to put on her clip on earrings or to comb down the back of her hair and make sure that her shoulder pads were just right. And I would do those things for her. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, not looking for a round of applause to say, oh, wow, you help someone with their hair every morning. But I think it was just the way that it made her feel that stood out so much to me. And I know when there were other nurses working on night shift, or if she would say, go to the hospital for something, and just hearing that, no one else would do such simple things that literally only took a minute extra out of my morning. So it was great to have spent that time with that particular person every morning for a year and a half to 2 years. That was a really great experience. And I still remember that person to this day.
And I did want to touch on that because we recently just talked about hiring for heart. And I feel like you become a nurse because of the heart you have. And so I just want to say thank you for that, for Derek, Crystal, and all our nurses, because you do go above and beyond just because that's in you, which I did want to share really quick. Kayla put this funny comment up, but if you plan to keep up with Derek, you better have your rollerblades on. When I walked the halls with him, I had to stay at a steady jog to keep up with his nurse walk. Very cool. I just love that. There's so many good shout outs to read as well. But the reason we're talking about that this week is, as I said, it is Nurses Week. And so we did want to just highlight not only what we do for Nurses Week, but also like a day in a life as an Arrow nurse. So switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about that and ask you, Crystal and Derek, both, like, what sets Arrow apart for nurses?
Yeah, so I think the word that comes to mind when I think what sets us apart and when you're looking for an organization to work with is support. That's the word that comes to mind for me, especially with me and my regional team, how we support the community, but also from Arrow standpoint. So support for us looks and feels like we offer them on-call, responsibilities. We have office hours. We have on-call support for them to contact us 24/7, 7 days a week. My experienced team of regional wellness directors are there for them and advocating for them. They're like a sounding board. Again, that 24/7 mentorship and coaching, and we're remote and also in person. But then I think outside of that initial support, which is very important, we have a lot of tools and we look at efficiency and our work-life balance and our workflow and really different ways to make your job easier. Make it so that you want to come to work and you're happy about it. So we have like our partnerships with Empower Me. They make our life a lot easier, right? We have our weekend on call coverage and our policies and procedures that we have in place to help it so that you don't feel like you're having this burden alone by yourself as a wellness director, and the community is one, but then also so you're kind of like spreading a little bit of the role and responsibilities there. But then also our technology sets us apart. We use different technology, whether it be Inspiron or our Power BI, different reporting. We try to put things in place so that it's just, like I said, easier to do your job. And with that being said, you have more time to spend with the residents. You have more time to do coaching and training of your staff. So those are a few things that sets us apart, I believe, and why I enjoy working with Arrow and what I encourage, and what I would encourage anyone to look for when they're looking for a company and what to stay, why a reason to stay with a company.
Yeah, real quick, can you tell me and everybody listening what Inspiron and Power BI are, just in brief?
I'll let Derek take the Inspiron. He says it way better than I'll ever say it. So Derek can say the Inspiron, but Power BI is really a tool that we use a lot. We take a lot of our information from like what we use with our point click care and our different systems, and it just puts it in a different format for us, like different data. So now we're just able to use this data and basically find interventions. It takes it and does all the work for us, and we kind of can interpret it a different way. And it's like, again, different grids or tools or data that we have, but now it just allows them to take out some of that busy work and trying to find the information. It's all there for you. And that's one of our ways that we are trying to move our quality indicators forward, our metrics that we have, and the things that are most important to us for the company and to move forward.
One thing I would add to that as well, kind of in the spirit of Power BI and automation and celebrating nurses, one of the major projects that we worked on last year was automation of a specific process where our nurses were spending a considerable amount of time every month on a specific task. We found a way to automate all of that, or at least I'd say about 90% of that process. And through various time studies, we found that the typical community's nurses are saving 16 hours a month. Now, we all know how nurses are limited. They're, I don't want to say rare, but it's tough to recruit and retain nurses at times. And by finding ways like that and thinking, why did people become a nurse? Did you become a nurse so you could sit behind a computer and complete a manual assessment and things like that? Or did you become a nurse so that your day-to-day work and documentation could all come together and create this automated process for you? And now we're averaging 16 hours a month of that nurse's time that could be spent doing things that they probably enjoy doing much more, as in their nurse job. So
Right.
I wanted to throw that in there. So yeah, Inspirin, that's a company that we haven't really been with for all that long, but we've been rapidly growing with. They, at their core, are more of a fall management solution. So we have them deployed in most of our communities now. It's been a fast and furious growth with them. They offer us so many amazing insights, in addition to the obvious being the fall alerts that are coming through, but then other insights as far as activity levels and when residents are getting out of bed. If they're a high fall risk, we receive the out of bed alerts. They are also continuing to add more and more things on, like their new nurse call solution, which we haven't tried yet, but we definitely have our eyes on big time. And other things like actually understanding how much time our teams are spending with the residents and better understanding acuity, because if we understand acuity, we can staff more appropriately as well. So it's really a huge thing to really understand not just what does the resident need, but how long does it take to give the resident what they need. So it's been a really exciting growth with them. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Thanks. Yeah, I had to ask because I love to learn new things because you guys always are, as people are saying in the comments too, like just Aero Wellness has such an innovative application of technology. And I think that's so true. And that's where Derek's love of all this comes from too. I think it's the perfect blend of tech and wellness for you. But I did want to mention too, go back to a little bit, Crystal, you mentioned having that regional team support. And I think that's something Aero does really well, in my opinion, is having that, all call where all the wellness directors get together and then you all taking time to have that office hours where people can come and just ask questions and all of that. So I don't know if you have anything else to add about that, but I did want to reiterate.
I think the only thing I'll add is that we did have our office hours earlier in the week, and we have it twice a week, but we had our all call today, and it was amazing. We had so many people come on and say great things about the entire wellness community. Executive directors, Amanda came on, the RDO spoke. The executive director said something about the entire team, the regional team, their wellness director. So it was just an amazing call. Just really a lot of gratitude and saying thank you and appreciation shown to all the wellness directors and everyone in the community to let you know, like, we hear you, your value, we appreciate you, we want you here. Thank you for everything you do. So it was an amazing call today.
I love that. And it's also a good time, I think, because you guys are doing your nurse walk and running around all the time. It kind of forces you to sit down and breathe and just talk to each other as nurses, which is awesome. So very cool. Also, with being a nurse at Aero, there are opportunities for growth, and I'd like to get into that a little bit. Crystal, do you mind sharing the different roles we have for our nurses?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I admire and love about Aero is that the opportunities are endless, right? Like whether you want to remain in wellness, which you need to, don't be like Derek and leave us. But yeah, you need to stay in wellness. But there are so many opportunities that we have. You can be a caregiver. like, well, I want to advance myself, but I'm not ready to go to school, or I'll do it a little bit later. You can be a med aid now. You have this huge push for med aids in our Ohio market. We've been doing it forever in the Missouri market, but it's a very big push for our med aids right now. And it just offers them, like I said, it's a dual role. It gives them an increase in their salary. It helps with our budget as well. Helps with some of the issues that we're having with, nurse turnover or kind of retention, things like that. You can be a wellness director, a nurse manager. If you are, strong with your leadership and your training, you can be a lead wellness director and be responsible for training other new wellness directors. You can be an Arrow wellness director, a regional coordinator, where you travel around having multiple sites and communities that you help support. And being on my regional team with me, you can be a regional director, helping with our policies, procedures, and auditing and compliance. Then you can be a managing director like me. So again, there's tons of opportunity that you have within wellness. And, again, even outside of wellness, as Derek can kind of speak to, where there's other opportunities outside of that. But it's one of those places where if you have the will, you're skilled at it, we will find something for you. We'll find a position for you. We're looking to continue to recruit and retain people, and we want to empower them, and we want to put you on a certain track. Whatever track you want to be on, we want to get you on a track and help you get there. So we're actively always seeking new talent and encouraging that growth.
Awesome. I love that. And do you want to share, Crystal, a little bit about your advancement with Arrow?
Yeah. So I was not homegrown. I know there are a lot of people in the company that are homegrown. So thanks for inviting me in. I actually started my career in the hospital setting and did a little skilled, and then I started my senior living career. But I came on as a regional wellness director for the Ohio market at that point. So I only had Ohio. And then probably about a year and a half in, 2 years, I was promoted to a managing director position where I had the entire market, the entire portfolio, and my own regional team, and helped, manage and lead the wellness portfolio for us. And then now I'm the senior managing director for the entire company. So again, just leading my team and leading kind of like our policies, our procedures, kind of where we're going. And that's a little bit about mine. I've been here for about 4.5 years now. And again, I'm just grateful for the mentorship, the continued opportunities that I've been given, and the trust that's been put in me and given to me, again, to really lead and develop and have the vision and carry out the vision that Arrow has, and kind of sprinkle in a little bit of what I think should be there for, again, the entire wellness department. So that's a little bit about my growth. And
yeah, and you can tell you're a great leader because you're getting some great comments here too about your leadership. You'll have to read them later, but we did have a question for you, Crystal. Excuse me. So, how have you recruited the newest generation of nurses while they are still in their programs?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think part of it is with the amazing recruiting team. But we promote from, within, and we promote on the outside, just showing them what they can do with us and asking them or encouraging them to come on board with us while you're in school. Try something out, be a caregiver, be a med aid. You're wanting to be a nurse or something like that. It's a great opportunity for you to get some of that hands-on experience. So it's really just promoting ourselves and letting them know what our opportunities are, and having that competitive salary, pushing our culture, our work-life balance, things like that. Those are all ways that we try to encourage people, again, by making sure that we have different opportunities, all those different roles that we just talked about, different opportunities and roles that a person can do, even while they're in school, and being flexible with their schedule, having multiple communities in a certain area that they can go to or help out. But I think it's about being flexible and trying to just get the word out and let them know why it's a great company to work for.
I love that. And I want to switch back to, so we talked about Crystal's advancement a little bit. Now, I know she's been throwing a little jabs at you, Derek, so we got to know your story and why you left Crystal.
It was the most amicable divorce ever, but I feel like we share a child in a way, together. So it's like we still talk every day. We still get along great. It's just maybe we're just not best suited for the same department. Like I said before, I originally started back in 2011 as a night shift nurse. I was an LPN at the time, did that for a decent little while. And then there was a point when we were building a brand new community in Springfield, Missouri. That's the Fremont. Shout out to the Fremont team. And a lot of the people that were at that community in the St. Louis area actually moved to Springfield to open that community. Now, keep in mind, I was not a wellness director and still had a lot to learn. But I think as far as the hiring for heart and training for skill, I was asked if I had interest in doing that, and I did. That's how I moved into a wellness director position. And from there, there was a brief period of time where I had left. I wanted to come back to the St. Louis area. I also started working on going back to school because I wanted to get my RN. And then I think I accidentally, literally, not truly accidentally, butt dialed our CEO, Stephanie. And I was actually in the med room at my job at the time. And we had started texting. And it wasn't too long later, the company had grown in the short time that while I was away to where they needed regional nurses. And so I ended up interviewing for that, and I came on board in the as a wellness regional. And I did that for a while, and the company had such rapid growth, especially around COVID and the time, immediately before, during, and after. And we just reached a certain point where the company needed someone to manage certain things, whether it be project management. So, say, like our Joint Commission accreditation and memory care certification for those 22 communities that have achieved that. Managing our vendor partnerships and sourcing out who are the best partners for us that will align with our business goals and things like that, and our health record system, like building assessments and point click care and just overall optimization. And that's kind of where that whole original CMIS major kind of came in. So basically I had this offer, hey, we could take all the things you loved about your regional job and we could turn that into a full-time job. And so yes, I did leave Crystal with love and affection, and I took that other opportunity to do the things I loved about the one job and actually turn that into the thing that I get to do every day. Kind of going back to that pursuit of when I was working on my RN, the continuing education program, I was actually the first person to ever get to use it. So that was really, really exciting. And ultimately, the conversation just came up like, hey, have you ever considered, helping to pay for schooling? And then in return, I could sign a promissory note to work for the company for X amount of time. And I was so excited when that conversation took off. And it really wasn't too long after that Arrow had its continuing education policy. And I wasn't finished with my RN yet at that time, thank goodness. So I was able to utilize continuing education for that. And then when I was done, I think I was just motivated because I kind of consider what we have available to us for continuing education as almost being part of our salary in a way. It's a benefit there for you to use. So I jumped back in school. I got my Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And then I am married to someone with a master's degree, and we're very competitive, and I couldn't not have one. So I couldn't really think of what I wanted to go back to school for. Do I want to become a master in nursing or something else? And I was looking into various degrees. I was talking to various mentors that I've had along the years and things like that. And I realized that if I really wanted to take this kind of full spectrum approach where, start out CMIS, end up a nurse, end up in the job that I'm in now, where you have to have that nursing knowledge, but also have the knowledge of the other side and the business and the technology. I ended up going for a Master of Science in Business Administration with an emphasis in healthcare management, so an MBA-HM. And the best part was really as long as what you are going to school for, as long as it benefits the company in some way, it's covered. And I actually, the way that I planned out when I went back to school, it was pretty much paid for almost 100% by our tuition assistance program. So um, I'm so grateful for that and grateful for the fact that Arrow, against Crystal's wishes, Arrow doesn't make us stay in a particular lane. So maybe you become, one position, or maybe you're, I don't know, an operations coordinator working at the front desk. Maybe you're a housekeeper and you think, hey, I would really love to be a nurse. That's been a dream of mine. I really want to do it. And you can. We have so many different avenues that we can go into and branch into. And the fact that I was able to do that and, financially not needing to pay out of pocket, not needing to add any student loans on or anything like that, that was just something that was really important to me. Any kind of promissory note in exchange, it's almost unnecessary. I mean, of course, I'm going to stay somewhere that has supported me in that way for that long.
What a wild set of circumstances too, that you like were asked to move and you said yes, and then you butt down Stephanie. That's amazing. And you did leave out one little role you had too, and you probably left it out on purpose, but Rob threw in that you also were in the sales department at one point.
I know that.
Between Rob picking on me and Crystal picking on me, it's supposed to be Nurses Week. Um, no, so actually, we had this. There was a bit of time before the Fremont was opening, and something that I really did not know a lot about was sales. I will admit I really didn't have the most appreciation for sales, and I only say that because I didn't have an understanding of it. I didn't realize how, if I was working as a wellness nurse and a tour is coming by, and if I didn't stop and say hello or just little things like that, I really didn't realize how that can impact sales. So I admit I really did not understand it. Um, there was a turnaround project, so a short term sales project going on in Champaign, Illinois. It was a converted historic hotel. I spent couple weeks living there on site, working in sales. And then once the Fremont was a little bit closer to opening, that's when I moved to Springfield. Lived on site there for a little bit in a villa before the wait list for the apartment I was looking at finally came available. And I worked in pre-sales for a little while. Cassie Tweeten, our chief sales officer, she was my boss at the time. And I like to give myself a little bit of credit. I tried really hard. I am not a salesperson. I never got a single deposit, but I like to think that I helped get us there. I think I did some of that groundwork, and then other people that are better at closing the deal than me, they kind of swooped in.
And just to set the record straight for a moment, Derek left this before I came on board. Like he was already before I came on board.
It wasn't Crystal's fault. No.
It's me.
I love
Let's
it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I real quick want to just mention our tradition side of things that we do for Nurses Week is that all of our communities host a pinning ceremony for staff and resident nurses. And I think that's really neat because it's not all of our jobs that residents also have in common. And usually we can always find resident nurses in our communities. So that's really cool as well. But I did want to ask each of you to briefly share what advice would you give to somebody who's aspiring to be a nurse?
Yeah. I would say for me, it's just knowing your why. Like you need to be genuine about your reason why you're wanting to be it and do it. Compassion is key. And then knowing that nursing is demanding, yet the rewards are super worth it. And seek mentorship, internship, shadowing, or do some sort of entry level role with us, of course. And nursing is such a broad field. Like if something's not right for you, there's so many other options. Like don't give up on it. It will never give up on you. So just try something different. Give it a little bit of time and try something different because the opportunities are endless and limitless. So those are my suggestions or advice for future nurses. and come and work with me. So,
I would say there's nowhere does it say that you have to graduate high school, jump straight into college, jump straight into your dream career, and you can never change from there on out. I mean, that does not exist anywhere that I've ever seen. To err is human. You may start out a different major and you may switch. It may take you 4 different degrees to reach your end point before you're finally like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of time off. I'm okay with not using the continuing education program for a little while. And that's totally fine. As far as the timeline, I mean, you may graduate, you might be, I don't know, you might be an accountant for life, and you might even be sitting in Arrow's accounting department watching this right now thinking, man, I wish I was a nurse. And you could still be one. So there's just no one telling you what path to take, whether it's LPN, RN, whatever. There's no one ever saying that you have to stay you have to get your RN someday. It really is about, just chasing that dream, as Crystal had said, and just really finding the path that works for you because your opportunities are limitless as a nurse.
I love it. I love it. Thank you both so much. I think we did it. I do want to encourage everybody watching to tag your favorite nurse or any nurse you want to give a shout out to. I real quick want to shout out my 2 wellness directors when I was at Communities, and that was Christy K and Kim Chase. So amazing nurses, both of them. And Crystal, Derek, thank you so much for being here. Happy Nurses Week. Next week, Derek's going to be back to talk about the conference he's currently at right now. So we're really excited for that. Feel free to join us next week. And again, Crystal, Derek, thank you so much. I hope you have a happy rest of the week. Bye.
Thank you. Happy Nurses Week.
Happy Nurses Week.